right, everybody. Anna's Global History Radio. Anna, you in the building?
Sure am.
All right, let's do it.
Okay. What's up? What's up, everybody? Hey, Facebook, getting going with you too. Oh man, so yeah, it's nice to see everyone. I was just watching this press conference. Do you know who Rosita is? No, you don't. No,
Yeah,
you don't.
I was gonna say something funny and smart.
What? No. What were you
I
gonna
was
say?
gonna say I've tasted the taco salsa, Rosita. You can put it on the taco salsa. It
Hey,
actually tastes pretty good though with tacos. I don't know.
well, it does. Yeah. Okay. Well, I know Rosita is a Sesame Street character. And so I was on Twitter the other night and I see this like outraged session. This mom posted a video of her, I guess there's a place called Sesame Place or something, which is like licensed to use the Sesame Street characters, and I don't know, like an amusement park sort of thing. And they have a parade, and she posted a video of her two little girls, her daughter and her niece, like running up to the character, and the character ignored them. And I mean, the character was like marching, and okay, I remember that. And the little girls were Black, and the mom says that Rosita had done that, she's like, there was a white kid here, there was a white kid there that she hugged. And so then other parents started posting up videos of their Black kids being ignored by Sesame Street characters. Yeah. I mean, it was oh God, these little girls were so cute. They were 6 years old, and they saw the character. They're like, Zoe, who's a different character. I think I know who she is because my niece liked her. It's like Zoe or something. And the Muppet was like going down, like, and so she like sort of went past them. And so you can see that. I remember that feeling from parades when I was a kid, of like, wait, look at me, pay attention to me, or like particularly like when they throw candy and you don't get any candy. Okay, you remember that? Now you're not allowed to throw. Well, in Vallejo anyway, I've been in the Mad Hatter Parade. You're not allowed to throw candy. You kind of need to go hand it to people. So yeah,
man, that's weak. Why can't you throw it no more? That's kind of.
I know. I don't know, man. You could hit somebody in the eye and they could sue you.
Oh, whoa.
Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah. So parade. So they. So then of course it's on Twitter. So there was a great meme like showing somebody like, I'm gonna roll up on Sesame Street and get that big furry bitch. And then there was a meme showing Rosita at the Capitol on January 6th. So anyway, the mom has now, so she wrote to them, and I guess she got a letter from the company saying, we're sorry, and, come back and we'll give you like a special meet and greet with the animals. But I mean, with the Muppets, but she's taking legal action. So I was just watching a press conference with her and a bunch of, attorneys and advocates. I don't know how the hell you prove something like that. I mean, they have video, because when you post something like that, like, yeah, I mean, every parent who's had their kid passed over on a parade and has video of it is going to post that, whereas parents that have taken their kids and had a perfectly good time aren't going to be paying much attention. So
Right.
yeah. So I don't know. I mean, the problem I have is that I don't know. I mean, once I saw that, I mean, kids get upset about stuff like that all the time, I mean, like, oh, I didn't get, I mean, when you're a kid, like I didn't get the pony that I wanted on the Ferris, on the merry-go-round or something. Like I didn't get the flavor popsicle that I wanted because they're all gone. Stuff like that's a very big deal when you're a kid. And so, and then you kind of, I mean, the concern for me about this is that now these little girls are going to be hearing every damn day for years about how the Muppets were racist. So yeah, I just, there are, I mean, is anybody out there, and I mean, there are so many serious issues, and I didn't because particularly it's not the character ignoring them, it's they have different people, I mean, there's different actors with the costume. So like, okay, what are you gonna do? What are you, they want whomever was playing Rosita on that day to be fired. And, I mean, it's this sort of thing where you're on, like, these parades are long routes. And if somebody's you're not going to get to, and so I don't know. I mean, if you're gonna, I just don't really see how you're okay. Like there's different actors. So I don't know, but yeah, that's what I was just watching. And I just hope that one of the little girls was at the press conference, and the other one, the mother said, was in isolation. And I'm like, huh? I mean, COVID. So the other girl's been at her grandmother's to stay out of the way. I hope those little girls have a nice get to go have some fun, and don't, because when you're a kid, stuff like that's a big deal. I mean, but so yeah. Anyway, Rosita, you better watch. It's lucky for the actor that obviously they were in a costume, because otherwise she'd really be getting flamed on Twitter. So, but I mean, they probably have different, I'm sure the same, I mean, on these parades, I'm sure they have like several versions of each character. They're probably like, oh, there's I doubt they have just one of them in a parade. So I don't know, man. But yeah, there's all this stuff like, where was Rosita on January 6th? And this whole meme of like people gathering on Sesame Street telling Rosita to come out. So yeah, Age posted something about it, but he just posted, it was like a comment, and if you didn't know about it, you wouldn't know what he was talking about. I just know about it because of Twitter. So speaking of, I'm a big Harry Potter fan. In Harry Potter, they play this game called Quidditch, and that is the part of the book I find least interesting, because those books are super detailed and long, and so there are these long explanations about the games, but people want to do, there's now a real life Quidditch. Well, there has been for years and years. I mean, whatever, the Harry Potter books are like 20 years old now. So there's versions of the game, and there's always been like different, Harry Potter accessories and stuff, but they changed the name to Quad Ball because everybody is mad at J.K. Rowling, and they're claiming that there's also, because of the films, there's trademark issues. Okay, that's reasonable, but I had, you can't, that's fucked up, man. You can't steal somebody's work because you don't like them.
That's funny that you. That's funny that you said that. That's super funny, Anna. That was good. That was good.
Yeah. And because I had this discussion with somebody again over the weekend who I saw at a wedding, and we were talking about the concert we'd gone to. We'd seen each other at a recital. So a music recital is kind of where you play different pieces. And so I talked about this before. They had a show at the Empress Theater called the greatest Wagner concert ever, with an exclamation point at the end, which is just fucking stupid. Like, if you had a show, like, would you go around calling yourself the greatest DJ ever? I mean, no. Yeah, it's just ridiculous. So when you're just asking people to pick apart what you're doing, and so I enjoyed the concert, but part of me, I was like, I missed that note, lady. So in Wagner is not a good. It's really hard to do a recital of Wagner because he didn't write arias. Arias are kind of the solos. Arias become like the greatest hits of operas. There's certain arias that those are the ones that are in movies, and they're like an isolated piece of music. They're just more like a song, I guess, or so. Like, you could, like, there's a lot of arias that you could probably just hear it on its own. Like, if you didn't know that it was from an opera, you might not, you just think it was a song. Wagner doesn't do that. He just wasn't interested in arias. So all of his operas are mostly people going back and forth. So it's really hard to separate, or, I mean, there's going to be there's other reasons too. I mean, it's really hard to separate out pieces of Wagner. You need to go sit through the long ass operas, which is a joy so far as I'm concerned. I have a short attention span, but not with Wagner operas. It's the most beautiful. It's just Wagner. People that like Wagner, you call yourself a Wagnerian. I'm a Wagnerian. I mean, that means I love opera, and you kind of like, Wagner is his own thing. So in a way, like, I can say I'm a Wagnerian. So yeah, like, obviously that would make him my favorite composer, but I'm a Wagnerian. My next favorite is probably Gluck, then Puccini. So I was explaining that to him, and then he starts up again about Wagner's fucking politics. Okay, Wagner lived in the 19th century. He was, by all accounts, not a very nice person. Like, so what? Hitler used his music for nationalism, and I've seen the opera that Hitler used, that Hitler incorporated, because at the end there's a chorus and they're singing about being like proud young men or something like that, and that was Hitler's thing with his Aryan nation. So he took that, the Nazis used that piece of the music, and but the music was also used in a film, Modern Tramp. It was used in a film at the same time by Charlie Chaplin about combating fascism. Like, you can use music, can be used in different ways, and it's not Wagner's fault. That it's just stupid to me if you're like, not like, there's places that won't play Wagner because of that myth. And what I said to Mark was, okay, if you listen to the music, there's no way I don't know, man. I mean, I'm not sure if I totally believe this, but I just feel that a hateful person could not have written some of the most beautiful music in the world. Like, yeah, I mean, he expressed anti-Semitism as somebody who lived in the time and community that he was part of. He didn't do anything to anyone. And yeah, I mean, so
anyway. I will
anyway.
say this. There are a lot of artists that make good music, but can be kind of hateful. I don't know how.
Well,
it's hard to explain that, but there was like Bobby Womack.
What did he do?
He had a song, if I recall correctly. I'm not sure who the other artist was. He slept with another dude's wife, and he made a song about it. And I forgot the name of the song. He could sing. I mean, he's a good singer, but
that's fucked up. That's not.
I know it is. I get your point. But yeah. I'm saying he was a decent R&B singer. He can make good music, but I wouldn't. You know what I'm saying? I don't know if he was necessarily a good person all the time.
But yeah, but I'm not talking about being, you can be a good person or a bad person and not be hateful.
Well, I mean, so, okay, what do you actually mean by hateful? Let me ask that.
That's a good question.
Let me ask that. Maybe I'm thinking hateful as in people that can do mean things. You know what I'm saying? Hateful things. They could do it, but I'm trying to figure out what you necessarily mean as hateful.
Well, I mean, people that kill people. I mean, and one thing about people that are violent for the fun of it, for one thing, like people that take pleasure in being violent, because you got the category of people that are violent because they're substance abusers. So with people like that, if they can get clean, they aren't necessarily violent. And also, I mean, people can learn not to be violent. Okay, so in a way, in a like say there's people that can be violent and then feel bad about it and learn to be better. There's therapy there. I don't mean therapy like, getting down deep. I mean behavioral therapy. People learn, like, sometimes with behavioral therapy, people learn to think differently. So when you learn to think differently, you act differently. So, so there's people like that who I don't think are necessarily hateful. But, I was just following up this, I was reading this week again about there about the lady that's still alive, the lady that accused Emmett Till and caused him to be lynched. And she wrote a memoir, and aspects of it were leaked. So yeah, her old man and his brother were hateful people. So yeah, I mean, Hitler was a hateful person. I think Putin's hateful. I think people like that are hateful. Yeah.
Would you consider Ted Bundy hateful?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, I consider Ted Bundy hateful. Okay, now good example in a okay. Well, here's a good. What about R. Kelly?
See, my thing is, I kind of think everybody has a different opinion of hateful.
Yeah.
I consider him being a little, I don't know. See, that's what I'm saying. I don't know how you would put that. I don't know if that's considered hateful. I would say he's evil.
Yeah.
With some of the stuff he did, but that's what I'm saying. It's one of them lines. I don't know what you would consider necessarily hateful. I mean, like you said, killing someone to me is kind of hateful. I don't see how you can get any further like that. But yet again, Charles Manson never killed somebody.
Yeah,
Never
but
killed
anybody. But he
never did it. Would you consider him hateful?
Well, yeah, because he ordered people to kill.
Okay. See, that's what I'm saying. So, would you consider R. Kelly hateful? That's a hard one. That's kind of hard to say.
It's hard. It's hard to say. And I certainly consider him a terrible person who's damaged a lot of lives. And okay, here's I don't know. I don't know if I want to bring up the specifics, but a lot of people were mad at me for again, I supported somebody who committed domestic abuse. And again, what support means different things. So far as I'm concerned, I supported fairness, and I do support fairness for everybody. I think that R. Kelly was entitled to fair treatment under the law. And family, I guess, like domestic, partially just because of some places where I've worked and stuff like that, I'm familiar with programs to help domestic abusers, both of children and of partners. So I'm real familiar with I'm familiar with programs and that can help people like that if they want to be helped, if they do feel remorse and want to get better. And sometimes people are just, in a way, because there's plenty of cases where domestic abusers can, they can have court mandated whatever, and then they go right back to being how they were. So, I guess that's evil, hateful. I mean, because I'm just, domestic abuse, with domestic abuse, one of the things they do, with guys that beat on women, one of the things they do is get them to help them learn to think differently. And because we live in a patriarchal society, there's men that think women are supposed to do what they want, do what they say. There's men that think a certain way about how women are supposed to be, so they're abusive when women aren't like that. So, and it just, so part of treatment and therapy for men like that would be teaching them to think differently. And like one of the things, like with children, one of the problems or one of the reasons that people are abusive is they don't understand how, like they don't understand child development. Like people think that their 2-year-old is bad and disobedient and all of that, whereas they're just being a 2-year-old. So if people can learn, or yeah, so there's things like that where if people can learn, or yeah, people can learn to understand, or you know, or like older kids, when people can learn to think that, okay, your kid is acting out because they're feeling sad, your kid's not a bad kid, they're not trying. So you know, so there's cases of success where people can, you know, I mean, I know people that have done time for DV and have, you know, learned to be different. And you just there's the thinking part and just flat out learning self-control and all that. I think that child molestation is a psychosis. I think it's a psychosis. I think it's an illness, you know, so, I mean, people that want to do stuff like, I mean, that's different than people losing their temper with a kid. So, yeah, so I don't know. I don't think that illness can, from my understanding, that's not something that can be cured. People like that need to be just, you know, need to not be around children because they, so, but I mean, I don't know. I mean, you know, like there's, yeah. But, you know, certainly when you're talking about, when you're talking about, you know, like so many musicians and artists are drug abusers, so they can do fucked up things because of that. You know, I mean, drug abuse, I mean, you know, one of the things, like I've had people like steal from me and mistreat me because they were on drugs, and I felt a lot.
Yeah, I heard that too. Don't worry about it. I heard it too. That sounded really close.
That did. Don't know what the fuck it was.
Fireworks.
Oh, okay. So yeah, I mean, when I learned to think like, okay, this person has an illness, they're addicted, this is an illness, and I'm gonna forgive them. And, you know, or even if somebody doesn't have an illness, I mean, I was just a Bible study, and yeah, but I just wasn't so mad about it, or I wasn't so mad about it, or I didn't feel so personally wounded and betrayed because I could see that this person had an illness, and it wasn't that they wanted to hurt me. So, yeah, so there's that whole factor. And so, you know, then there's people then you have mental illness. So if people can get the right drugs. They can be better, but so that's kind of the difference. But when you get into psychotics and psychosis, I mean, I think there's people that are not capable for various reasons of having any shame or remorse, that don't want to be better. So I think I'd consider people like that to be evil and hateful. I mean, you don't, and you certainly don't know. I mean, I was watching I cannot watch trials of the school shooters and all of that. The Parkland school shooter is on trial, and I guess they played tapes of what happened, and he was like hiding his head, and I'm like, okay, is somebody that could do something like that, are they capable? I mean, because most of them will like fake being sorry because they're trying to get out of it. I don't know, with people like that, I don't know if they're, I mean, sure, yes, I consider them hateful. Yeah. And see, with Charles Manson, you can, with the people like the reason somebody like him is evil is because he was using those people. Though it was sort of like, for him, the people were weapons. If you have that much control over people and you tell them to kill and they do, they're your weapon. So that's why you're guilty. And so I actually was listening to a podcast today about I have to get the pronunciation of her name better. The journalist in Malta that we've talked about before, who was assassinated. And so I think they found they set a car bomb. There's the person that goes and puts the bomb underneath her car, and then there's the person that ordered them to do it. So they're both guilty. Okay, that was a long answer. And I don't, yeah. But yeah, with music and art, I don't know. I mean, I've been on a Sly and the Family Stone blitz, and I was reading about how one of the guitarists, how they kicked out the bassist, I think, Larry Graham, I think his name was. I could have that wrong. And, apparently there'd been violence and fights and threats and stuff like that. And I guess it really did get pretty heated, but, a lot of them were on drugs. So, yeah. There's certainly people on drugs that did, a lot of damage. So, yeah. And then I was watching I watched a documentary about them, and then I was just, I was reading an excerpt from a book about them. I want to get the whole thing, because I hadn't, because their music is just so indelible. It's just everywhere. I mean, I have heard their music plenty of times without really knowing who they were. And then I watched that film, Summer of Soul, on Hulu, where they played, and I mean, I'd never seen video of them playing before. I mean, I heard the name, but I didn't really know who they were. I was just like, oh my God, this is unworldly. It's just incredible. So, yeah. Did your parents listen to them when you were growing up?
Um, not really.
Really? Yeah.
Not really. No.
Yeah.
Yeah, when I grew up in the mornings, there was a lot of James Brown,
Yeah. Yeah.
whispers, stuff like of that nature.
Yeah. Yeah. You told me James Brown was your dad, was your
Definitely,
dad's
yeah, definitely James Brown. James Brown is a staple in the Joyner household.
thing. It's great. Well, he caused some damage to people. I mean, some of these guys, but like, yeah, I mean, there's people that can cause a lot of destruction, but
That's what I was saying. Like, there's a lot of artists and people,
yeah,
that probably people would say they hate him. That and James
yeah.
Brown is one of them. Rick James. There's a lot of them that were kind of
Well,
out there.
yeah, yeah. I think Rick James did some really fucked up stuff. Oh, okay. Entertainers. Okay. Bill Cosby. I think he did some evil stuff. I mean, I don't know. I mean, like some of the stuff I can understand. I can understand losing your temper. I mean, that's kind of like why, like one of my projects was, I mean, that's one of the reasons I believe so strongly in rehabilitation for juveniles. I understand losing my temper, and if I were in an environment where I had easy access to guns and there was a lot of violence around me, I can understand why somebody could lose their temper. I can understand going off, because I used to be real. I used to have a bad temper. I mean, yeah, yeah. I mean,
What? Anna
oh,
had a temper?
oh, yeah. I still do. I've just mellowed out a lot. I mean, so in a way, one of the things you need to do if you're temperamental is to, okay, well, different things. Okay, you need to change your life. You can change your life so that you're not in situations that piss you off. And yeah, you can get various forms of therapy, treatment, whatever. There's those whole pieces. And yeah, certainly, getting older makes a difference. Well, also, you can just become more chill, and cause and when you're more chill, you remember how you you know once I'm more chill, I can remember how I could have fucked how I can remember things I fucked up because of losing my temper. So you have reasons. So yeah, so I can understand why, like, okay, if you're in a violent and that, okay, and that when people have experienced violence, they can be violent themselves. And so that's there's a lot that is behavioral, and behavior can change. You can learn to act differently. You can learn to think differently and act differently. So yeah, so there's definitely plenty of people that have committed violent, I mean, like, yeah, so there's that. But but especially like this sort of stuff. And I don't know. I mean, I think, I don't know. I mean, like people will confess to being violent. I've never heard anybody confess to raping someone. And I think that I don't know if rapists can be cured or, I don't know. I mean, I think again, I keep coming back to like substance abuse. Yeah, there are some people that need to not drink. I think that it's possible that, people who are, I don't know, man, when you talk about the whole thing of people's sexuality, and I don't even know, man, that is a whole deal. And so, but that, I mean, the sort of stuff that Bill Cosby did, I mean, he'd have to plan it. And so to me, I mean, that's just such an absence of, like, that's one of the reasons that poisoning is considered to be such a, I don't know, serious crime, because it takes time, I don't know. I mean, it really, like, okay, when people like, okay, I'm going to have this lady over to my house and do this, you have plenty of time to think to yourself, this is wrong. And so people like that, I think, are a lot more, evil. I mean, it's different than, manslaughter or something when so yeah. But I mean, a big thing like, and behavioral stuff and lifestyle stuff and all that. But back, so far as I know, I mean, as far as I know, I mean, James Brown didn't do stuff like that, or, I haven't, definitely, I mean, you have, people that, I mean, a lot of people just go crazy when they make a lot of money, for one thing. I mean, and people can lose any sense of accountability. People can start to think they can treat others the way they want. And the problem is with the whole rock star thing is that, and any other situation with people that make a whole lot of money, they can become surrounded by people that don't confront them, by people that don't hold them accountable, because they're getting money from them, or because they want something from them. Like a musician, an artist is going to be surrounded by a lot of people that are trying to get exposure and or whatever. There's people that want that. There's people that are working. They have a lot of people working for them. And so those people aren't going to tell them something's fucked up, because they'll get fired. And then they can have, I don't know. And then you can have, fucking Ben Bugs, man. He's a preacher now, but he was a pro ball. He played college ball, and he has no problem telling you about the days when there were women just lined up waiting for him to take, just waiting for them to take their pick. So, you have women that, so yeah, so people like that, they're going to be surrounded by people that, I don't know, women that want that status or whatever. So, he always, man, it's a good thing that guy became a pastor, because preacher, because yeah. Yeah. So yes, that's real deep.
Very deep.
Yeah, but no, I mean, I don't think there's very many evil people in the world. I get that, and I get that from my dad. And the thing I put it on his tombstone. I mean, you know, I think it should go on his tombstone. He says there are very few bad guys and good guys. And yeah. And so I'll say that people think I'm fucking crazy. I'm like, I don't believe in bad guys, and most people aren't. Most people are a combination, and you can be, yeah. Most people are some of both. So I think good people do bad things. It's just, that is just possible. That's just something that happens.
I agree.
Yeah. And now, and you know, I mean, who knows what the fuck sort of things people would in the past would say before there was Twitter and all of that. So you want to take a break?
Sure, let's do it.
All right.
Perfect. Yeah,
27 ink.
Fatty.
Yeah. If I shine, then my people too. Once you get on, that's what you're supposed to do. I'm on my own team. Big Meech. If it ain't about biz, don't speak. If I shine, then my people too. Once you get on, that's what you're supposed to do. I'm on my own team. Big Meech. If it ain't about biz, don't speak. Yeah. Always on the road. I'm in the league. No time for the blase. I got mouths to feed. Read between the lines. You'll find this guy serious. Now you tapped in, and I got you a little curious. Here it is. Live and direct. No EV around my neck. Get the first. Y'all know the it's in the eye of the beholder. Nobody wanted to kick in. Put the whole thing on my shoulder. Road, I'm a rider. Started at the bottom, now we on fire. If I shine, then my people too. Once you get on, that's what you're supposed to do. I'm on my own team. Big Meech. If it ain't about this, don't speak. We protect game, don't follow those. Move them numbers on that El Chapo. We don't stop, no. Count it up. Never listen to a lane. How that sound to us? We protect game, don't follow those. Move them numbers on that El Chapo. We don't stop, no. Count it up.
Turn it up.
Yeah. Never listen to a lame. How that sound to us? Yeah.
Look. Me listen to a lame, how that sound to us. Ape City 2020, yeah, we counting up. Had to get to the bank, then ran it up. Try to play me, Glock don't back him up. AP on my wrist, yeah, I'm acting up. Yeah, I heard niggas mad, stop backing tough. El Chapo, I send a nigga up. Midnight, broad day, I don't give a fuck. Blessed. Yes, I'm feeling blessed. Look at my wrist and my neck. I kill me a nigga and down of respect. You talk about gas, but you not a threat. 762s turn you to a mess. I'm trying to rap this check, and these niggas mad I took off like a jet. I did it all for the fam. You niggas know who I am. ACD bitches the clan. I'm trying to get to these bands. Niggas gon' hate, but they really some fans. Got a gun, but I heard you a runner. Hella broke, damn that's a bummer. Hey, city, we been hitting numbers, and this shit gon' turn up for summer.
We protect game, don't follow those. Move them numbers on that El Chapo. We don't stop, no. Count it up. Never listen to a lane. How that sound to us? We protect game, don't follow those. Move them numbers on that El Chapo. We don't stop, no. Count it up. Never listen to a lane. How that sound to us? Yeah.
Ape City niggas in the building. Fuck how you feeling? You niggas be claiming y'all gangsters, but can't do the time y'all be squealing. That's why I can't trust nobody. Gotta move by my lonely. I fuck with Ape City Reef cause he my brother. Fuck a motherfucker homie. I don't need no new friends, bitch, I need new ends. Tryna get a new bitch, finna set a new trend. Fuck you next, yeah, and I'ma crew the best. Bitch, me, I'm back in the flesh. I don't do the Instagram, I do the streets, bitch. Just fuck with many cause I'm on some real street shit. I ain't with the sneak diss. I give you suckers two options. Get hit with my fist or the chopper. We moving them numbers, El Chapo. If Eddie the boss, I'm the capo. I'm finna head to the rancho. The streets gon' be flooded tomorrow. Removing them drugs in a poncho. Chaparralo that's packed with them hollows. The swim with them sharks you get swallowed. All that fuck shit we don't follow.
Game, don't follow those. Move them numbers on that El Chapo. We don't stop, no. Count it up. Never listen to a lane. How that sound to us? We protect game. Don't follow those.
Don't follow those.
Move them numbers on that El Chapo. We don't stop, no. Count it up. Never listen to a lane. How that sound to us? Yeah.
Yeah, Anna's Global History Radio. Shout out to Fetty. What up, Fetty? All right.
All right. Yeah, I was just charging up my phone. You know, cats can be kind of evil.
Did you say hats can be evil?
Cats, yeah. Yeah. They fucking yeah.
Oh, so for some of our listeners, what's the update on the one cat? Did someone wind up getting it? Or did you wind up keeping the cat?
Oh, I kept him because he's evil, and so I don't know if I can. Yeah, well, because he's partially. My cats were fighting, but it was hard to tell. Even though I thought that. See, it's hard. I thought that the one whose fault it was. Well, just for various cat reasons, I didn't think it was his fault. The one I was trying to rehome, but now I'm not even so sure about that. And you kind of have to be honest when you're surrendering, and so yeah. So I worried about him not having a home, nobody adopting him. But I also, cats are really perceptive. I think he heard me on the phone. Like, they haven't been such brats. They've been behaving better. So, except one of them, he fucking hunts. So I have to get him, he has to have a collar with a bell, which is sort of annoying, but it's supposed to scare away the birds. And he hasn't killed a bird in a while. So I thought we were doing good. And then this morning, like real early, I hear this horrible squeak sound, and he's in with a fucking dying bird. And horrible. So I just shut the door. I didn't even want to deal with it, but what, and then so I had to go out, and now I'm trying to put another bell on his fucking collar. Cause I think like they somehow cats can sort of figure out how to not make noise or something. So, I mean, I hate the sound of the bells. That's why I don't have collars on my cats. I think they look cuter without them, and I don't like the bells, but then because not all cats like to hunt, but he does. Yeah. So then I like wake up and have to deal with a fucking dead bird. Cats but especially with mice, when they kill a mouse, they play with it. My cats that were brothers, they would be like batting a mouse back and forth between each other. So yeah, cats can be kind of evil. Poor birdie. So yeah, so one of them's just a killer. But they also, I mean, they're, anyway, so yes. So yeah, he's still around. He's a murderer. Okay, so we're gonna swing. Okay, so we've talked before about the Democratic Republic of Congo, and the dictator of DR Congo for many years was Joseph Mobutu, and his grandson was just elected governor of a province. So you just don't really ever know if that's, hopefully he is a better person than his grandfather. The same in the Philippines, where the son of Bongbong Marcos was elected president. He is the son of the dictator Ferdinand Marcos, who was, probably a pretty evil person. And so he hasn't taken any responsibility for what his family did. So, that's a problem. So in a way, that's another thing when you talk about situations and behavior that allow or let people do bad things. I mean, if you're raised in a family like that, especially, if you're raised in like a family, you think that's, however you're raised, you think that's how things are supposed to be when you're young. And then when you get older, you can try and like figure that out a little more. But I mean, if somebody's people that are raised in an environment where they really believe that they're better than others, and that rules don't apply to them, they can continue on a path of cruelty. And so, that's the case in North Korea. I've been following the elections in Sri Lanka. And so there's been 100 days of protests over the economy. Sri Lanka is totally broke. One of the reasons is that the government enforced more environmentally friendly policies, but they did that, I guess, without helping any citizens. So when we talk about protecting the environment and people talk about how that hurts profits, that's what they're talking about. Like, like with with coal and all of that. Like, yeah, we need to try and make things better for the environment, but it's fucking people's livelihood. So, I understand where they're coming from. If I was trying to feed my family, and my job, and somebody was talking about the environment, I'd have a pretty hard time caring. And, unless there were other options. So that is one of the reasons that Sri Lanka is broke. So Sri Lanka is an island nation. It's off of southern India, and it won independence from British rule in 1948. And there's 3 ethnic groups: the Sinhalese, the Tamil, and but it's majority Muslim. There is 50% inflation. And so people have been waiting in line for gas for 10 days. So I was listening to some interviews with people. And so like families are switching off. Families are like taking turns waiting in line. And then there's people around, there's businesses near there that are charging people to use the bathroom, but then there's other places that are there. People are also helping each other out. But yeah, they're waiting in line for 10 days and they still can't fill up their tank. So yeah, pretty scary. I mean, but we were talking about authoritarian rule, and Sri Lanka has basically had the same family in charge for about 30 years, 20 or 30 years. So we were talking last week about how people like busted into the president's like president house, the palace or whatever. And so they have a new prime minister who is from the same family, corrupt family that has been ruling Sri Lanka. So yeah, things don't look that great there right now. So okay, Daphne Caruana Galizia was a journalist that we talked about before, and she wrote about corruption in the government, and so I've been listening to a podcast about it, and so people so like they had the power to, people like her bank account was frozen, and people would have that power if this was she was writing about corrupt deals between business people and the government. So if she did that, then like she was slapped with legal cases, and her bank account was frozen, and then a bomb was planted underneath her car. And the podcast is called, well, the first episode was called Now I'm Really Leaving, and there was an interview with her son, who's also a journalist, and he said that the day that she was killed, they were both at home, and then she was leaving to go to the bank to deposit a check from her husband. She wasn't able to use her own bank account, and so she told him when she'd be back and left, and then came back in like 15 seconds later because she'd forgotten something, and said, "Now I'm really going," and went out to the car, and then he heard the explosion. So yeah, so that was business people. So, so you're basically like using a hitman. I guess it made me think the title was just so moving to me because I'm not so bad now, but I used to always, I'm still pretty bad about like leaving the house and realizing that I've forgotten something and going back in. And when I had a roommate, it would just crack her up because I mean, it could happen like 2 or 3 times. So I've said that so many times, like now I'm really going. So, it's one of the things I periodically just like try and get more organized. Like, okay, I have certain things for certain places, but unfortunately, like I've been looking all over for my charger, and I even thought that I left it at the museum. And I went to the museum. I went to the museum library today to check, and it wasn't there. And I finally found it because, I put it someplace where I was like going like, okay, well, this can be the new section for chargers. And I put it there, but then I forgot. So I finally found it. So her son is trying to, there's been no justice, and her son is trying to find out who did it. But what is also happening is attempts to take down all of her articles, all of her work, everything she's ever done, so that there's no records of it. And it's a good podcast, and I'll talk more about it next week. But it's just an example of the impact that one person can have. That she was one person and then, she just was running her own blog because people were afraid to hire her. So it was very sad. And that, people were scared. And when you have she was brave. I mean, she went up against some real scary people and lost her life. Okay, in Japan, this is one of those like there's a wild monkey in Japan that's been charging into people's houses, and he's like bitten a couple kids, and this lady found the monkey like dragging her 3-year-old by the leg. And so people are being warned to keep everything locked and all of that. But what I can't figure, how do they know it's the same monkey? That's what I really don't understand. That's like something at a park.
I don't know.
Well, that's like something out of Parks and Recreation. They have this whole thing. They're claiming that it is that they're trying to catch a possum, and they are claiming that, okay, well, this is then they were like, oh, wait a minute, we caught the wrong one. A fucking animal came, because I have the cat door. A fucking animal came into my house last night. I don't know what the fuck it was. It was like, it might have been a possum. I don't know. It wasn't a cat.
Is it still in your house?
No, God, no, it left. I mean, it scurried in and then scurried out.
I told you that was going to eventually happen with the cat door.
That's happened lots of times.
And you don't trip off of that? You ain't tripping off of animals just coming in your house like that?
Yeah, I trip off of it. I trip off of it big time. Yes.
I'd be like, cats, you got 2 options, outdoor, indoor. You choose right now, because at a certain time, this door is being shut.
I know. Well, yeah, I mean,
I can't do it, man, because, man, you wind up getting something crazy like a raccoon in there, boy. That might not want to leave.
I know. Oh, they do. Well, they do. They're wild animals. They run as soon as, hey, come here, homie. Come here.
All right.
This is the bird killer. Okay, go away. So yeah, well, I mean, wild animals are just going to run when they see you. No, I mean, I don't think a raccoon, I mean, shit, that would suck. I mean, I've had raccoons in my yard and stuff, but yeah.
Not all wild animals run. You know that, right?
Yeah.
So you do realize that there may be this one day you may get this certain animal that's gonna be like, nah, no. I
The
have
cat
food
door,
in.
but it has to be, the cat door is not that big.
You don't think a raccoon, if a cat can squeeze through it, a raccoon can get into it? You do realize that, right?
I don't know. People are yeah, I don't know about a raccoon coming in. They don't, I don't know. I used to have a fucking well, I used to have a we used we were, but yeah, I mean raccoons are serious. I had a cat. You do have, I mean, you know, like there's definitely places where yeah, I've had other like weird I don't know if it was like a fucking pass. I don't know what the fuck it was. I mean, I've had that happen in other houses. I know, man. A lot of people don't have cat doors. Because the biggest problem is other cats coming in, like other cats coming in and fighting. But that's how see, that's the thing. That was why I was looking at rehoming Roman, because he just moved in. He just kept coming in through the cat door to eat. So yeah. I know you're never going to want to come do the show over here now.
Well, I wouldn't mind doing the show during the day, but like I said, I mean, I don't see how you can do it. I mean, at nighttime when that door is just there open and woo.
It's not that big. Raccoons are big.
They can fit through a lot of things. I don't understand why people don't. I know. Why do people think I don't know? You know I do pest control for a living, right? I literally have a license for it and everything.
I know you used to do it. Okay.
I still do it. I still have my license. I do classes. A raccoon could get into your house if it really wants to, especially with your door open.
Now okay. Well, see, all you need. Okay.
I'm not saying it for no reason. It's funny when I tell people that, because there's a lot of people that argue, and then oh gosh, you get that in your house, and if you have like cat food in your house, it is gonna want to stay in your house.
Yeah.
It has food, water. Not gonna be good.
I don't know.
But you've been lucky. You haven't had them yet, so.
Yeah. Actually, you know, we had shit. Yeah, actually, a friend of mine used to leave her back door open, and she did have raccoons come in. So yeah, we were told to like bang on pots and pans. They don't like loud noises.
They don't like it, but if you see what people don't understand, if you get the wrong ones, some of them, you know, because sometimes people feed them. If you get, let's just say you get one that comes in there that's used to humans.
Yeah.
Man, it ain't gonna be scared of you. I hate to say it won't be scared of you. You just gotta hope you got a wild one that ain't used to being around humans. Then they might leave. But if you get one that people fed and it's used to being fed, you'll have some issues.
Yeah, actually, that's a real problem. I mean, I was just reading about a bear attack recently because the bears get really used to humans, and they were campers, but they didn't have their food put away. But then there was a bear, and then they put their food away. But like apparently the bear liked the smell of the lady's shampoo. She had like some fruity product thing.
Yeah. That's why I say don't feed them. Don't do it.
Hell no, I don't feed them.
Scare them away. As soon as you see them, try to scare them away and just don't even try to be all.
As soon as I saw this little fucker, I'm
willing to bet it was a possum. I'm willing.
Yeah, it was a possum. I've seen them before.
Possums aren't as bad, but sometimes they're you know, they, even though they're scared, they're hard to get out sometimes.
This wasn't.
Yeah,
I just walked over and he ran out. But I've had some weird, I don't know, man. I just, my cats are so happy. I mean, they're animals. Cats are free spirits. So I know I know a lot of people just do not get the cat door thing. But
well, I mean, I understand it. It's understandable.
Thank
but
you.
in the pest control world, an opening is an opening is an opening.
Yeah.
It's just like you leaving your door open to your house. The bigger the door, the bigger the thing that can come in. And with animals people don't understand that the way that their bodies are, their bones are a little bit more flexible than ours. So even if an animal is kind of big,
Yeah.
it can still fit through certain areas like a cat door. So you can have a raccoon that's kind of big, but it can still kind of maneuver itself to go into a cat door.
Raccoons are kind of scary. They're mean.
They can be mean. That's what I'm saying. It can happen, man. I'm sorry. I just can't do it. I can't leave nothing open for nothing. I'm sorry. If I did have to have a cat, it would have to have a choice.
Yeah.
Are you going to be an outside cat or are you going to be an inside cat? Because I can't do it. Something come up in here. Oh, dude. Woo, I couldn't deal with it. I cannot deal with that.
I understand. Yeah. Damn. Wow. That was a little bit of raccoon education. Yeah, I'm trying. We had this whole thing at my where I used to live. There was by a bunch of woods, or there were definitely more raccoons around there. So yeah, so we had a raccoon we were trying to catch. It never came inside, and I think we finally did. We finally trapped it and were able to like get wildlife, life or whatever, to take it to the wild. But yeah, my cats had a little house. The raccoon would get in it. And it was really weird because I'd be looking over expecting to see my cat in there and I'd see the raccoon. So, damn. Pest control.
Very much so.
Wow. So you see what good, where at my old house I used to have mice, but once my other cats were like real little then, but once they learned that more about responsibility, no more. But then you have to, so yeah, it was a pun. Damn. Okay. I hope everybody enjoyed that little educational pest education. So Emmett Till's home in damn it. My notes are being really weird. Emmett Till's home in Chicago has been named a historical landmark. So that means it's going to get there's going to be grants, and it will be maintained as a place to go. And it was this is so fucking weird. This was such a fucking long list of stuff that okay, so it was pretty interesting to me because it's called the African American Cultural Heritage Action Fund. So it's going to rehabilitate buildings. I copied it all down, but for some reason it's not transferring over. So it's a bank in Mississippi. There's going to be a bank in Mississippi and a school in rural Florida that were just important to historically, and the money will also help restore the Virginia home where tennis coach helped worked with Black athletes such as Arthur Ashe and Althea Gibson, and rehabilitate the Bluebird Inn in Detroit, and preserve the African American cemeteries in Pennsylvania and a tiny island off the coast of South Carolina. Okay, Facebook, I'm about to swap my phone over, so hang tight. So yeah, so that'll be, I I don't know. I mean, I guess because I was just coming across a lot of, because of the most recent thing about the warrant for the woman being discovered. So, okay, Facebook, I am back on with this. So I'm looking at putting a punk show together at Chris's club here in Vallejo with a band called the Homobiles. It's
Nice.
yeah,
Like punk rock music?
yeah. There's a yeah, it's called queercore or something like that. This was some of the stuff that I just had so much fun doing when I was young. And but you know, I mean, we keep fucking going. That's the thing about my generation. You know, we just keep going. Nobody's going to step on our fun. So I'm looking at so I contacted the band about doing a show in Vallejo, and they're into it. So I was looking, they're doing double bills, and I was looking doing that, but just like, fuck it, you know, I mean, even when I was younger, I get bored, you know, the whole like opening act thing in a way, it's like, a lot of times, it just, in a lot of scenarios, it just doesn't work. I mean, a lot of people are fine with just one band. So I wrote them. And so I think what I'm more interested in doing is just having one band and then maybe having a DJ to play music after the band for people that want to stick around.
Nice.
Yeah. We have so much stuff coming up. Okay, we have Twitch Talk on the 28th.
Yeah, that's next Thursday?
Yes, it is. Oh God, that's soon. And then after that, we're gonna go to every third Friday at Integrity. And there's one person I've met who's really into, a lot of people are really into Bewitched, but I've been talking with him and we're even planning like which episodes to watch and do for our recap. So that's gonna be fun. I'll have to decide about going live from I don't know. That's always what's tricky because you can go live from a page, but it's just so hard. I mean, you know, the page is good to represent things, but if you have if you have friends and followers that you built up on your personal thing, it's just really hard to try and build it from a page. So, because like actually, like I made the page for you, not necessarily, and you can go live from it, but the point is that it's just a good way. It's just good publicity way to publicize and get attention and all of that. So, but if you switch your videos, all the videos from when you go live to public and post them to the page, that'll work. That works. Pages have a voice. That's what's cool about them. Like I went around and liked a whole bunch of different things as the DJ Row page, especially like local music stuff and all of that. So then when you have something coming up, you can just post about it. Your page can post on different sites. So
got you.
Yeah. Your page.
Yep, Anna's been looking out for me on that, man. She done hooked me up with a page, so I gotta get on it.
You just need.
I'm gonna get on it though.
Well, yeah. What do you want to call the page?
Yeah, I'm still thinking. I'm gonna figure that out. I got time this weekend, so I'm gonna think about it.
Okay.
And work on it.
Okay, because I went to yeah, because I just did an experiment. I just put DJ Rowe into Facebook and oh my God, like hundreds of sites came up. So I was like, no, so that's why, because yeah, when I get going on a page, because then you know, you can comment on your page can comment on sites. And you know, so then like if your page posts an event on something else, like you could post your flyer, and so then not only will people see the flyer, then they can click and go right to the page. So yeah, you can put your, so watch for the page that is, watch for the DJ Rowe page, which is not going to be the DJ Rowe page that much longer. Yeah. Yeah. Okay. So a private school in San Francisco wants the Sunday farmers market to close. It's a new farmers market. And at first I was like, what the fuck? Why does the school want the farmers market to close on Sundays? But apparently they have events on Sunday sometimes. And they want the farmers market to close like on days when they have families coming in. It's like, what the fuck? I mean, if I were a parent, I'd probably think it was pretty cool to have a farmers market going right by the school. And it's a Sunday, but then a board member was quoted as saying that people that pay if you're paying $30,000 for your kids to go to school, you shouldn't have to walk more than a block. I was like, oh man, that was a real unfortunate quote to make. Man, people are pretty stupid. San Francisco has a new district attorney who, that's kind of what they do. She fired a bunch of people, and that's what they do. New district attorney, because people feel like the prior district attorney was too progressive, and that, I don't know. But it's always, see, again, like back to the whole thing about most people aren't really good or really bad. I mean, what can one person do? So if you're talking about the case of Daphne Caruana, like, okay, yes, one person can do a lot, but you know, I mean, that happens all the time. And, you know, in Vallejo, or, you know, people, there's a lot of blaming individuals, and I don't think many things are just one person's fault. I mean, it's just, when you're talking about big, complicated systems, there's so many things that can go wrong. And so, and it's just so yeah. Okay, so this was a fucking trip. Okay. There's a new police commissioner of Boston, and that's Black, and the guy, he was assaulted by his colleagues who mistook him for whomever they were chasing. Like they practically killed the guy, basically.
Wow.
Yeah, he was they were chasing someone, and he was in plain clothes and was ahead of everybody, and like jumped over a fence or something or other, and people caught up with him. And you know, he has like permanent kidney damage from him. They practically killed him, and he was like off work for 6 months. But so they did that, and then realized who he was and took off. So somebody else, some other cops like found him, and he remained. And then nothing ever happened, because nobody, you know, as we know, none of the cops would testify about what happened. So he stayed. So he's now been appointed the police commissioner of Boston. So, of course, activists, abolitionists and anti-police brutality activists want him to criticize the department. People want him to go real public about what happened to him. And, but, he's one, and then like he was off work for 6 months. And so then he's one of these guys, he's gotten a couple degrees in policing and all of that. So you just hope, well, shit, talk about whether one person can make a difference. You just think like, okay, so now with somebody that's experienced police brutality himself, like, okay, could he be the one to hold anybody accountable? So I hope so. And his, okay. So the quote was, the activists hoped he would go public as a critic of the department, and his fellow officers hoped he would let the matter go. And people just, wanted him to move on. But he felt, I guess, that by remaining a cop, that he could try and combat and improve the culture through doing that. So, they were talking about, the cops came to his door that night to get his wife and said he'd been injured, and she's saying what happened, and they wouldn't tell her. That's a trip. Okay, a bill to protect gay marriage passes in the House. And several Republicans joined the Democrats to pass that. And now it'll go to the Senate. We'll see if it's going to have a more difficult time passing in the Senate. It's just this, people are suddenly, they suddenly woke up and realized that, okay, people are saying, because the Supreme Court said that, which supposedly passed a law to legitimize gay marriage, now they're saying that's under threat. So they're trying to pass a law for that, and then they're trying to do something or other in Congress. There's people that are trying to somehow make some sort of federal protection for abortion rights, to which I'm saying, like, good fucking luck. The whole point of having a judiciary, the reason that judges are appointed for life is, and I know that it does not work this way very often, is for them to not be political, for them to have a job that they know they're not going to lose based on their decisions. So they're free to make decisions based on their judgment and what they think is right, which is a good idea, except for the problem of them being appointed by presidents. And so, that does make the court become more political. It's also an interesting question, because how how in elections, how sometimes some judges run for office.
Mm-hmm.
It's an interesting question to me whether they should be voted on or not, because if you kind of have, then, if you vote on judges, then you have the problem of, they're going to make decisions based on staying in office. So that's a problem. But then, then people should have some power to get rid of them. There was a judge that, there was an effort to recall a judge that let a rapist off the hook. So I'm like, yeah, sure. I signed that. So long as there was an option to recall the guy, I was all for it. But it's an interesting decision. And even, I think it's strange that there's elections for the district attorneys. See, people are going to think I'm crazy for stuff like, this is one for district attorneys. I had this discussion with a friend of mine, and I said that, God, I mean, it's like when there's elections for things like insurance commissioner and all this shit that people don't understand and don't even know about and don't pay attention to. So I think that to me, I mean, jobs like that, I don't see why they're political. I mean, they're bureaucratic. And so with some jobs, it would, and so with a lot of people, I mean, shit, I don't know what you're supposed to do as the fucking insurance commissioner. Most people don't know. So I was talking about that with a friend of mine, and this was way back. And I said that, I was like, yeah, but I said that, like, okay, that's kind of that should be the point of elections. You should, and it is the point. Okay, you elect somebody that you think is smart, that you think is moral, that can get the job done. And so for me, I just bring it back to like anything, your mechanic, your doctor, you choose somebody that you think knows what they're doing and that you think knows about stuff that you don't. So that would be the logic for me of having your elected representative appoint certain positions. And a friend of mine was going like, blah, blah, was like, it was like, but people, it was just because it's sort of circuitous. I said that, like, I don't really trust people to make smart decisions about posts that I think are basically bureaucratic. And, she was saying that there should be more rights for people, because look at how, this was back when Bush was elected, was like, but look what Bush did. Well, look what Bush did. I was like, well, yeah, I mean, it's just gets sort of circuitous, but I don't know. I mean, I'm sort of like, no, the district attorney, I don't think the district attorney should be voted into office, because they're going to be making decisions. I mean, I think them being voted into office gives more opportunities for corruption. Okay. Krishna Abrams was endorsed, when you have the district attorney seeking and getting endorsements from the police union, how the hell do you expect her to prosecute cops? And she doesn't. So no, that shouldn't be an elected position. I don't think. I mean, that doesn't really make sense to me. And yeah, they shouldn't. I'm like, okay, it's not, when you're running for office, you need to raise money for things. So, okay, if the district attorney, there's all sorts of opportunities for stuff to be fucked up with who the district attorney raises money from. Like, how are you going to, what if somebody that you've raised money that's donated to your campaign does something illegal? It just doesn't make sense to me. I don't think that, yeah, I mean, and because it's sort of like, okay, well, I don't know, because in a way, like, the district attorney is the one that hires all the deputies and all that. So those are the people that do a lot of the job. But I don't know. So in a way, like sometimes I mean, with certain positions, like for me, I'll get like voter guides and look to see for these positions. I keep talking, for these positions, I'm like, yeah, I'll go with a vote. I'll find who's recommended or whatever, by groups that I agree with and vote for them. But yeah, and in Vallejo, you have this, I mean, because in Vallejo, like you vote for the mayor and the city council, but the city manager is the one that makes decisions, and they hire the city manager. But other than that, they can't fire people. Just whatchamacallit, the city manager does. So last week there was I talked about it on, never mind, I talked about it on Wednesday. I talked about the Tuesday night. They were trying to, but the mayor, like, he just was like reading the statute. Cause like, okay, there's reasons for that. Like, okay, you have places where an elected official can just like if our city council people could just fire whoever they want and put friends of theirs in jobs. Like, no, that's not good. There's reasons for that. But all our lovely mayor did was just, he has this monotone, like, he just kind of read the statute and just saying like, I can't do this. It's illegal. And he was saying, well, if you people have problems, go vote, which was just so disrespectful. I mean, you have people that have taken their time to come to city council and express themselves. Obviously they fucking vote, or just they're obviously, don't tell people to get involved when they're there. They're involved. Obviously they're involved. And then the city attorney spoke, and, she's another person that gets a whole lot of criticism, but I thought she did a really good job because I felt like she was really talking to people. And, she wasn't reading off a piece of paper. She was looking at people and just talking. And so, just trying to explain again, like, okay, they're bound by the law. So, I mean, people were there demonstrating to get a certain cop fired, and like, no, the city council people can't do it legally. They can't, the law. And so somehow you need to try and communicate what you can and can't do. So I mean, there's always like good and bad. Like the reason to have the city manager system of government is because theoretically is to have somebody who's looking out for the city who doesn't need to run for election. That's the logic of it. And so I do understand. I mean, that makes sense in some respects, but the city manager has so much power. And so I don't know. I mean, like basically, so the city council, the one thing they can do pretty much is hire the city manager. So we're kind of like, okay, they were elected. We're kind of like trying to rely on their judgment of who's a good person. And somebody was going off on me about it. He's like, blah, blah, they hired this person who was a crook. Everybody he worked with said he was a crook. And I was like, yeah, now they're saying that. Of course, now that he's gone, now everybody's going to start saying they knew it all along. I really doubt the same people were saying that before. Like, yeah, of course everybody knows something after it's already happened. But Okay, so the war in Ukraine is, I mean, the big Russia supplies countries with oil and gas. So people are trying to switch. France signed a deal with the United Arab Emirates, and Italy is getting gas from Algeria along with other countries. So, I mean, the more you diversify the sources of product, I think the better you are. President Zelensky no, of course he isn't. Okay, the Russian. Okay, well, Russia. Oh, this doesn't. Okay, this does not make any. I just wrote that. Anyway, well, Ukraine. I mean, food shortages. Food shortages. One of the reasons is because of Ukraine's. A lot of grain is grown in Ukraine. So, okay. Europe is having a crazy heat wave. And so there's been deaths, and then apparently, like, the subways in England aren't running because it's so hot, the tracks are melting. Yeah.
That's crazy.
That is crazy. And when it gets like that, they have to cancel flights too, because like the asphalt or whatever it is melts. So yeah, you know, there's wildfires across Europe. And like it's somewhat what's said about everywhere, you know, like in Washington, not many people have air conditioners, but like in London, nobody has air conditioners because it's usually pretty fucking cold there. So people don't know how to take care of themselves in the heat. So, you know, I saw these pictures. They're having like some schools are closed, but I don't know. I saw this photo. They have kids going to school and they just have like water for them to put their feet in. Yeah, you know, okay, you know, this is the world. You gotta try and deal with it. Okay, like, you know, wear a hat, use sunscreen, because, you know, the fact is, I mean, there's always, you know, I mean, like when we had the heat waves last summer, there are people that need to go to work no matter what. So, you know, I mean, it's nice if you're able to stay in, but yeah, but I mean, I was looking at pictures of them and I don't know. I mean, it's like if you, I don't know if you can, like, I guess I mean, like when it starts to melt or whatever, does it go back in the right shape? I mean, fucking train tracks, that is just so scary. And, you know, yeah, the United States just brought in its 17th international import of baby formula, but it's mostly like they send it mostly to hospitals. So what the fuck are regular people supposed to do about their baby formula? Really, really fucked up, man. Or babies. Not cool. Not cool at all. But you know, well, that, you know, that is why you need to not have one company filling 50% of the market. And actually, we'll talk about this next week because the Food and Drug Administration like cited itself or something for doing such a bad job with regulating baby formula. So hopefully they're going to fix this up because it's not getting better. It's continuing until the end of the year. That's what they're saying. Poor babies. Yeah. So, okay. So I saw you had a happy hour last week, didn't you?
Yes, we did.
Some shows won't die.
What's that?
Some shows won't die.
Oh yeah, definitely. No, it won't.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh, very cool. Yeah, so we'll be back next Tuesday, and next Thursday is Twitch Talk. I gotta try and get some fucking press for that. And yeah, I think we're good.
All right.
All right. Night, everybody. Thank you.
Good night.